If you want some absolutely mind-blowing AI traffic for 100% free in Microsoft Flight Simulator, you want to watch this video. It is absolutely amazing. Hello YouTube, I'm Pilot Stud and welcome back to another video. If you're new around here, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. A lot of work and time has gone into this video. I've even made a downloadable manual in the description to follow by if you don't really like the video format, but I'd recommend you use it in combination. Alpha India Group have been working on an awesome product that they've released for 100% free for Microsoft Flight Simulator. It's still in very early days, it's in its beta at the moment, but once you get it working, it is very good. It's a lot of work, but injecting real-world liveried, realistic aircraft into the sim makes it feel a load more realistic. Better than any payware alternative out there at this moment. I think you know who I'm talking about. It does take a bit of time. If you're brand new to it, it might take you a few hours, but following this tutorial, realistically, you could probably get it done in under an hour. So stick with me as I go through how to install Alpha India Group AI traffic for Microsoft Flight Simulator. If you want to support me, be sure to like, comment and subscribe. It really does help me out, but now let's get into it. So the manual tells you everything you need to know, but I'm going to go off my own manual anyway. What is it, you may be asking? Well, it basically is an AI traffic system that works better than anything we've seen. It will inject realistic AI traffic into the sim via an online mode which follows a real world aircraft in terms of the real world sky. So if you've got a British Airways plane coming into Gatwick, an A320, you'd have that plane coming into the sim that goes off a SOBO system, or you've got an offline mode which injects aircraft on real world routes going off real world timetables that are downloaded off the internet. But the great thing about that is you don't actually need to be connected to a SOBO system. That's all in-house from what you download. It's a bit confusing, but it will make sense. I do recommend offline AI at the very moment because of course a SOBO system is a bit hit and miss, so offline AI actually has the ability to replicate somewhat online AI. Very confusing, but I hope you understand that issue by the end of the video. Download the manual in the description, my manual, as well as the fact when you download the software you'll be able to see their manuals. My one basically just kind of combines the two and adds a bit more information. But now let's get into our first steps. So going off my manual, what will you need before you install it? You'll need Microsoft Flight Simulator fully updated for obvious reasons. You'll need the AIG AI Manager, which is the software that allows you to install and download the models, liveries and flight plans, and you'll need the AIG Traffic Controller, which allows you to inject these models, flight plans and liveries into the simulator. On top of that, you'll need an AvSim library account and an AIG forum account. We'll get into that later. You can find all the links in the description and on the document. Let's start off with the manager first. You're going to want to come over to Alpha India Group's website, and going off this link, alphaindia.net/AI-manager/, you're going to want to come down here to the public beta and click it to download it. And there you go, you can see it downloads as a zip file. Now I've downloaded this a few times now to see if it works, if my tutorial works, and play around with it basically. So I've got a few copies of this on my PC already, so I'm not actually going to be opening that one. I'm going to come straight back to here and go over to the traffic controller. You won't need this just yet, so if you want to download the AI Manager first and then come back to this later, you can do, but you might as well download them both at the same time. Click download and there we go, that's ready. You can then extract them through WinRAR. I've got my two copies here. I've got Traffic Controller on the left and AI Manager on the right. Notice the number there because I've downloaded it a few times. First of all, we're going to want to go to AIG AI Manager. Click on it and it should be all extracted inside, so you'll see nothing zipped up. You're then going to want to find the .exe, right click it and press run as administrator. Of course Windows will ask you, you'll say yes, and you can see it starts to load up. As it's initially starting up, because this is a brand new copy, you'll want to follow everything. It might take a bit of time, you might get something like this. Just press any key. You'll then get some sort of loading screen like this. If it asks you this, I do recommend clicking yes unless you've installed it before. Because I have, I know it runs fine on my PC, but if you've got a weaker PC, you may want to click yes, just to slow it down a bit. So once you're in AI Manager, you'll be greeted with something that can be pretty scary actually. There's a lot of stuff, a lot of things to focus on, and you might be confused about where to look. Now the first thing you're probably going to want to do is come over to updates. Then down here you might want to disable pre-2018 flight plans. If you don't know what that means, OCI means one click install, FP means flight plans. Basically, if you disable this, you won't be getting any historic traffic in terms of scheduling and liveries. To a varying degree, it should work pretty well. I do recommend you disable that if you want your world to feel more realistic. For example, that will probably mean you won't have Thomas Cook flying around. Then you're going to want to click this box here to link it to the forum. As I said earlier, you want to set up. This is why when it wants you to log in, you don't want to be setting up now, but it just makes it go a bit funny. So if you've got an account already, it's always good, and as you can see I have, it will log me in, and I recommend you click always stay logged in. Once you've logged in, you can click X and come back, and hopefully you'll be logged in if all things go well. That just means you'll be able to download flight plans, and it works pretty well. Now we just move over one bar to flight plans. Easy step here, we need to connect AI Manager to Traffic Controller. That's very simple. All you need to do is find your directory for Traffic Controller. So because mine is on desktop, we can see it's here, and because it's a new one, let's just say we've downloaded it, we'll click it and then find the .exe. And there we go, connected already, very good. Up here you'll see we've got minimum activity in percentage and maximum activity in percentage. I recommend you leave it how it is, but if you don't want to see as many aircraft, you can put it down to say 50%, and then you'll see 50% of total aircraft available. There can be at times where you feel like the world's a bit too full, but I recommend you leave it at 99%. And then if you really want to, you can adjust it afterwards. Then move over to cookies, and you can see because we logged into the forum earlier, you can see it says logged in here. We also need to log into AvSim. Once again, making an account for AvSim library. This just means you'll be able to download models. You'll probably get some script errors like this one. You just want to click yes, yes and yes to them all. It will then bring you to this page, and because I've logged in before, it saves it for me because it goes through the internet. So click login. It will then ask you for scripts. I don't know why, but there you go, you can see we're logged in. Then feel free to close it, and that should flip. Now we move over to step 6 in the manual. It's one of the last boring steps, I've got to be honest, before it gets quite exciting. We can now move over to up here, AIG, AIM, Alpha India Group, AI Management, OCI, standing for one click install. Now one click install is a bit of a red herring, let me be honest here, because of course it's not one click. We've done plenty of clicks before, but it will make perfect sense in a minute. You're going to want to click setup, making sure you're in general and not payware, just ignore that. Click setup, it will then direct you through it, and you can see it should have already found everything. I'll then say something like this: AIM will need to be closed, please restart. And then we can go and open it again. Come back into the manager. If you've made a shortcut on your desktop page or wherever, then you can open it like that. Just make sure you run it as an administrator. You could see down the bottom left hand corner of the screen there, I've got previous versions. It's just because I was testing around with my tutorial, so I installed a few versions. And then once it's loaded up, you'll be ready to install your models, your flight plans and your liveries. It works very well, and as you can see, it's not too long of a process. That is the bulk of the hard work done. Now comes the fun part. Now it's loaded back up, hey presto, it should be ready to install some beautiful aircraft. To check it, I do recommend you go back into settings and see if you've got a path here. You can see we've got current path and a new file in our community file, AIG, AI Traffic, OCI Beta, because this is a beta version. Now it's where the fun begins. Take as long on this as you like or as little. If you're installing a single airline, it will take a few seconds. A flag carrier could take a few minutes. A combination, an hour. I'm going to show you how to do it first. So you want to come into flight plans, then click online. And let's just choose someone like, I don't know. We'll choose a big kind of airline so we'll make sure we can see them in the sim. I'm going to start with DHL. I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to time-lapse me installing a collection of airlines and then we'll see them in the sim. Before I do that, let me just explain how it works. Here you can see you've got DHL UK, which flies from East Midlands to Brussels, to some other places. That's Cincinnati, I might be wrong there, it might not be, but let's just install it. Install it using the one-click installation, which is what I'm talking about earlier. It's not necessarily one click, it just means it installs your models, your flight plans and your liveries in one go, which is pretty handy. There we go, already installed. Got EasyJet, let's install them. This will take some quite time. If you want to, you can go through and configure them to remove liveries if they're not realistic. For EasyJet that might be applicable because of course they do change their liveries quite a bit, but I've got to be honest, I don't care. Click back and click install, that'll take some time. Let's time lapse it now. So there we go, we've got a nice mix of airlines installed now. To see them you want to come up to and click, funnily enough, installed, and you'll see all the airlines we've got here. So we've got them from small airlines in the South Americas, to Aeroflot in Russia, to DHL, to Delta. Of course, you can go through this and install more as you go, but I've got to be honest, this is a nice enough mix at the moment. You may be wondering what you do now. Well, basically you're done with AI Manager. They've been put in the community file and are ready to go. The final thing I recommend you do before you do load up Microsoft Flight Simulator and Traffic Controller is come into Settings, click AIGAIM OCI and press Verify Setup. That will just make sure all the liveries are correctly put in there. It will fix any broken OCIs. And there we go. That will fix that for you. It's as simple as that. I know it's taken some time. I've been sat here for about half an hour just installing them. Most of the time I was away from my computer doing something else. I didn't realise it was actually done. So there was a bit of that as well, but you can see it's fixing some of it. And there we go, verify check done. We can even do text to format as well, so let's do that. And that's all good. Right, there you go, you've installed all your AI. You can go back through it, you can delete stuff by pressing remove. You can add more stuff by coming over to online flight plans, and just like that, easy as that really. If you want to see what aircraft you've got, you want to come into aircraft, then directory, and you can see aside from all of the installed aircraft, you'll be able to scroll down and see that we've got, let's scroll down a bit more, we've got all of the AI aircraft here, from the 757 to the A350, and little planes like the B175. Then the glory about this add-on is that it doesn't replace all AI traffic, so if you'll still see little planes, little Cessnas flying about, that means it's a bit fun, and your skies don't feel so lonely. Now this doesn't work too well. I think it works better when you've got Traffic Controller open, but if you want to look into an airport to see what's arriving there, this timetable would load up. It's a bit buggy still, it's still in beta, sometimes it loads up, sometimes it doesn't, but now let's load up AI Traffic Controller and I'll show you how we use that. So we're going to keep this open for now, just in case. We're now going to come over to Traffic Controller, run it as an administrator like before, click yes. And there we go, it might need to be updated. If it does, that's fine, shouldn't take too long. This is the smaller application, so it shouldn't be too hefty on your PC. No, it wasn't. And press any key. And there we go, it's loading up. Beautiful. You can see behind us we've got Scuprol with all the KLM aircraft. And I know it's fine, so I can click no. And there we go, it's loaded up now. Because we haven't started Microsoft Flight Simulator, we know it's working, and we just need to connect it to the sim. But there's a few things we need to do before. Come into settings, and you need to come down to OCI directory. And there we go, straight like that in my community file. Here it is, this is the one we need. Click on it, bang, there we go. Now what you need to do is just make sure that's in there. Click save settings at the bottom. You don't need to do anything else with this except for reset it, and while we're resetting it we can start up Microsoft Flight Simulator. The last thing you want to do before, well, maybe during while Microsoft Flight Simulator is loading up, press create a shortcut, rename it to say Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020 at the end. I'm not too sure if this is required, but it's in the document that they provide, so I put it in here anyway. You could then start it up, and I'll show you as Microsoft Flight Simulator is starting up how you do it. As you can see, starts up normally. While my sim is loading up, let's go into settings. As you can see, it's all connected. You want to check this, use AIG FP, and then basically all you need to do is worry about pressing inject traffic. That's it. Everything's ready now. We can now hop into the sim. Of course, run it as an admin, and the sim has loaded up. Now coming over to traffic, let's just go back up here. You've got a choice. Live traffic works with this, and the sim and the application will make the best possible choice regarding the type of aircraft in correlation with the real world aircraft. For example, let's say a KLM 777. I'm not even sure if they operate them anymore, but let's say they've got one of them, but there's no 777 model. They might replace it with a 787. So it should be fairly accurate. For the most part, it will hit the nail on the head and get the model matching correct, but sometimes it will slip up. Once you're in the simulator, all you need to do is go onto AI Traffic Controller and click Inject Traffic. On the screen now we've got an example of the AI traffic, the AI offline traffic. To enable this you want to keep Traffic Controller open, you want to inject your traffic as I showed earlier, and you want to go into settings and turn AI traffic off. You'll also want to turn off generic models and keep traffic variety to ultra. On top of that, swapping over to AI online traffic, which follows the online menu. Here we are at Heathrow. You do not need to have Traffic Controller open. You can just come into settings like this and select real-time online. That's it. You do not need Traffic Controller open for online live, but you do for offline. That's because it's drawing the data from the controller there. It doesn't make much sense and it's quite confusing. It is as easy as that. Let's watch these aircraft arrive. I'm tracking this one on Flight Radar. This is of course an A380, and at the time of filming it landed at 3:39 and right now it's 3:45. So there we go, it's about what, 6 minutes behind, but hey, it's still here. I mean, just look at this bad boy. The application can be very temperamental, so I do warn you there, but when it works, it really works. And this guy's going around. Just look at that. Of course, slightly unrealistic in terms of it going around like that, but that's just the AI system in Microsoft Flight Simulator coupled with the live traffic. I wish you all the best with this add-on. That does look very weird, doesn't it? I wish you all the best. If you have enjoyed, there we go, look at all these guys on the ground now. If you have enjoyed, then be sure to like, comment and subscribe. It very much does help. You can read the document down below to help you if you are stuck, although it should be pretty good. I would say it's been the most difficult tutorial I've ever made, but there we go. I do recommend you go on offline traffic, but right now I'm on online just to make it show you how it does work, and it works pretty well, let's be honest. There's a few discrepancies, and I haven't downloaded Virgin Atlantic, which is why it's been replaced with this British Airways A350, but as you can see, lights work as expected. It's a very simple, very good add-on, and it works just like it should do. It is worth it, and I've got plenty of airlines to go and install, so thank you for watching. Thank you to my first class channel members. Thank you to Captain Matt Russell, Ethan Bubeck, Jesse Wiseman, Erwin K, Fanny Leibenberg, and hello. You guys really do help me out. I'll see you around, but from me today, that is all. Bye bye.